My name is Paul Shore, and you are watching another edition of The Street Speaks, a spontaneous speaker's corner for Montrealers where we give you and your neighbors a totally unfiltered platform to express yourselves about anything. Nothing is off limits. This week, some Montrealers are telling me what they're doing to deal with their depression. Others living with a disability are sharing with me how they grapple with their vulnerabilities. And some speak out about the complicated interplay between making art and making money. Also ahead, our house band on a roof this week, Skinny Bros returns. And comic improviser Sehar Manji and comic Keith Waterfield both take to the Street Speaks soapbox.
Well, first of all, it's all in Montreal. There's nothing, little city where I came from, you cannot go to see a ballet show, or if you go to the theater, there's one piece. So I think that they have to diversify the offer all around Quebec and Canada to just make it accessible to the people.
But arts can go elsewhere and also outside the big cities of Montreal and Quebec City, and goes in Havre Saint-Pierre and goes in Atichie-Wood-Bichouane, in the middle of somewhere.
Because right now, you just can't. You want to go to the movie? Okay, fine, there are 6 blockbusters in the movie theater, so go see one of them.
I will just rethink about how we share the money for art and culture.
I think that can be a problem. Like, why would you inject money on a dance show at Radio Canada? This is just stupid. Like, to me, inject in projects that are, or inject in workers that are willing to make Quebec culture shine.
Because it's very big city centrist, I say, right now. And so if we want to help the artists and help the community, and also to help the people in general, they need to be in contact with the culture.
If you want to study art, you have to go to Montreal. But why you cannot study it in a cégep in La Région? Because there's people there that want to learn it. So I think we have to decentralize those institutions and the way that we think art, actually.
And it's very, very sad to say, but I have family in outside the city, in region of Quebec, and the culture they have is the culture of going in the wood and hunting and fishing, and it's totally fine, but they need to see something else.
So we need to take the children and teach them how to do art, to appreciate art, and what's our background history in art, because there's so much thing that comes from the art industry that we need to be aware of that. And just by being aware of what is being made in the art industry, it helps you to appreciate it, actually, and to be open to what you see.
They don't have the opportunity because we don't send a contemporary dance company there, because we know that they won't make a full room because they are not sensibilized. Sensibilisés from the beginning, from the small age.
We have to do this when they're young. I mean, there's nothing really in school that teach art history to children. There's some art plastic classes, but it's all. So I think it seems like it's really present, but it's only in the big cities.
It's only in the cities.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. I totally agree with you. I'm very happy to welcome back to the show our house band on a roof, Montreal's finest Skinny Bros.
Yeah, I think people need to come out and reveal that they struggle with depression. It's some people are really uncomfortable with that, just talking about it, whether or not they deal with it. Just if somebody else brings it up, they're kind of just because then nobody knows what to do about it.
Well, I think that there are a lot of things happening right now that are difficult to understand. I think that there should be help for anybody that has a mental illness. I think there should be more help.
I'd say, like, especially starting out as an artist, I'd go through more periods of depression, and it's probably directly related to my self-worth and what I was trying to accomplish with my life.
When you don't work, like, it's really hard. It sometimes can be very hard on your sanity. Like, I find that working really undoes a lot of the inner problems, and many people who are in depression don't realize that if they worked, they would be, like, I'm not saying even working for money, but just doing something, you know?
As time has gone on, it has been less frequent, but then sometimes it just comes out of the blue, and I'm just like totally shocked that it, like, because and then I'm left trying to find the reasons for it.
But I mean, like, if they're doing something with their hands, with the mind, the body is involved, everything is involved, especially the mind, they won't be so depressed, because the mind when it starves, when the mind is starving, it starts to eat garbage, and that's how people get depressed.
It is. I feel like our psyches are so delicate, you know, like, and we've been going through so many changes in such a short period of time as people. Things are not aligning well in your understanding of yourself and the universe, and something goes off for a bit.
But in general, what I observed, people are very benevolent, you know, and they have a good intention, and they really want to help. They're all in for you, you know. They're all there. They're trying to undo absolutely every note.
Dealing with depression, you go places that normal people wouldn't have to deal with, you know, like you suddenly have to deal with a lot of shit. You're confronted with your own shit.
No matter how petty, how detailed, how small what you're presenting them with, for example, you know, they still gonna direct their undivided attention to that, and they're gonna discuss every bit of it with you to make you feel better and to give you solutions, you know. So in that sense, I find they're very all-inclusive and very caring. So I had a good impression of them.
And so if you're of the mindset or you have the mental capabilities, depending on how hard the depression is, mine's not severe. I know some people who have depression and they can't get out of bed. Like, if you could come away learning something, or at least understand a little bit more about yourself, that happens, and maybe you won't understand, and accept sometimes that you won't understand that it happened, why it happens.
You know, if you really understand psychiatry, if you really understand psychiatry, like, you won't look down upon people. You would really like, mental illness doesn't exist. I don't find like emotional problems. Like, who doesn't have them?
We all have them.
We all have them, and people who go to psychiatry are actually people who want to do something about it. I don't see anything stigmatic about somebody who wants to get help.
I'm so happy to welcome to the Street Speak Soapbox Montreal comic and improviser Sehar Manji.
Are you in therapy? Oh, no, I'm not saying that you need it. I'm saying that you need it. I love therapy. My God, my therapist is one of my favorite people. I know nothing about her, but she has an entire file on me. It's just so fascinating how a complete stranger can chip away at your deepest, darkest emotional places and then work with you to fix you. Let me tell you about her. It's gonna sound made up, but I swear it's not. She's old, like 100. Well, close enough. And she's got short white hair that is adorably complemented with her carefully curated wardrobe of baby blues and powder pink ensembles exclusively. Occasionally, she'll throw in a pattern from head to toe, like tie-dye or floral or stars and crescents. No, really, she exists. This is a real person. And she sits in this giant armchair, of course, where her feet don't touch the floor, taking notes of every single thing I say and how I say it. Until finally, she stops writing, lowers the notepad, and stares at me through those giant translucent framed glasses and says, "I don't buy it." Oof. Busted. The truth is, we all need work. We've all got parts of ourselves that are somewhat unevolved. But mostly, I find that we lie to ourselves a lot. I don't lie to other people, so why am I fooling myself? See for yourselves. Listen to that little voice inside your head. What's it saying? Oh, I'm sorry. So you're self-actualized and emotionally stable. Well, I don't buy it.
This is an acquired disability.
Yep.
And it's challenging. It's challenging for the people, especially the people who are closest to me in terms of family, or the people who see my potential and are very frustrated by the fact that I'm not living up to it. And what I get from the people who are closest to me is not, oh, we get where you're coming from, and even though some of us have medical expertise and understand what you're going through, still want to believe that all you need to do is make a little bit of effort.
The public, they are very generous, a little bit too generous. I feel some pity, you know. That's
The problem with my disability is that it's not a visual, it's not a visible, sorry, not visual, visible
Inside.
disability. Yeah, it's not clear until you push me. And when people say, well, you're not pushing yourself, it's like, because I know what happens when I push myself. Like even right now, you can see I'm sweating a little bit, and that's the concussion telling me to slow down, because I've been talking to you for a little while.
I have falls. I've had some bad falls. And I must say, there are always strangers who cluster around and help me get up. And I think, because I couldn't have gotten up myself from that. My back is killing me. And they're there.
It's interesting because definitely when we're talking about, again, we come back to this idea of transference where, well, you look fine, and also people don't want to be vulnerable. They don't want to be in a position where they need to rely on others because we are afraid of being looked down upon for it, because we're afraid of ever being in that position. We're afraid of going without. I mean, I live off less than $900 a month.
They'll lift you up. I had a guy lifting me up. He had me halfway up and he said, "Oh boy, you're heavy." I said, "Yeah, I know." He said, "Oh, well, that's okay." You know, and he lifted me all the way up so that I could get to a bench and sit down, you know. So it's here. It's here. It's in people's spirit. You know, when I get on a bus and I've got my cane, there's always someone who vacates a seat for me. Sometimes the mothers have to tell the kids to get off the seat.
I think the biggest problem that I have is, yeah, people make assumptions about if I'm faking and how much effort I need to be making. But it's also frustrating because there's things that are difficult. I can't really clean my apartment. You know when you're looking for something, you just throw everything everywhere? Well, I did that 6 months ago, and I still haven't been able to completely put my room back into order, you know? Because it's just, I get dizzy when I look up too long. When I look up too long, I get dizzy when I look down too long. And it's just very demanding.
I think we have more to learn. I think people are becoming more sensitized to that. Well, to be aware of the elderly, first of all, that they were actually people, and because we get dismissed sometimes, you know. I had a guy shove me down in the metro, said to me, "Old man," like that, with disgust. And I looked up, I couldn't believe what I'd heard, you know. But there were other people in the metro who immediately helped me get up, so I was comforted right away, and I realized I just got a bad bird, you know.
So there's considerations. There's little things and there's big things, and these things get in the way, and it's especially difficult because it's not. I mean, I'm not comparing myself to people who have much more serious disabilities or actual handicaps, but having a non-visual disability has its own special challenges. Mm-hmm.
How much of your social life is spent in social media? What percentage?
I would say that's a good question. I never thought about that.
Well, I don't have Twitter. Okay, I have Facebook. What's happening?
Because I see people's pictures on Facebook and their videos on Facebook and whatever about them on Facebook, I don't need to ask them how they are. Like, I remember when I visited home last time, I was like, if I had a Facebook the whole time I was gone, I don't know that like the people I run into like at the grocery store that I used to know would stop and be like, how are you? Because they would already feel like they knew how I was, you know?
A majority of my life, I mean, even when I try to speak to my friends, I have to go through Facebook and then contact them or even text them or...
I see just people posting pictures of themselves. That's it. Nothing more than that.
Selfie generation.
Yeah, selfie generation.
My big hobby in life is snail mail, so to write letters to people, because I don't like the email. No, it's a really interesting process, because like you're taking the time to do it. You just like pause your life and just write a letter to someone else, and it's fun to know that someone is doing it for you too.
And this is a connection that we're missing, and I get to see their eyes and tell them, you know? But if no one sees anything about me for a year, like no photos, like nothing, then they are like, whoa, like you disappeared, like what have you been doing? Like where did you go? Like,
what prevents you from calling them?
Oh, I do so.
Oh,
also,
you do call as well.
I mean, I cannot see their pictures or their vacation that they did, I don't know, like in the Montrealers through my cell phone. So sometimes, well, not sometimes, a lot of time, social media is really useful.
The funny thing is the big community is on internet. It's on Instagram, so you meet people there, and after you have like this relationship, but on paper with people. You know, I receive like super colorful letters, so it's just like a little bright part of sun in my life, and it's just a piece of paper, and it brings so much joy to everyone. So
now it's a bit too much. It's people take pictures of themselves like on a toilet bowl. You know, come on, it's too much.
Why is it too much? People like it.
Why people like it? I know, but doesn't mean they have to share it. Yeah, it's positive, but it needs to be a bit more controlled. That's what I think.
So there's benefits and drawbacks, and I think it's all about how someone stewards it as an individual.
I'm so happy to welcome to the show Montreal comic and overall troublemaker, Keith Waterfield.
Our idols are dying at an alarming rate. I'm talking about people who have made a celebratory difference in our lives. People like Prince and Robin Williams and a handful of others daily dying. And the only thing that anyone seems to do about this is to post on social media about how much they meant to them. Because we now know that if you don't post about a celebrity's death within an hour of them dying, then you truly did not care about them. Throughout the day, whenever I check Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, I have this moment of dread when I start to think, who died today? This happens 20 times a day. More, if I'm being honest. And often this feeling is confirmed as I start seeing status updates of broken-hearted emoticons. And I start to wonder, did one of my heroes die? And that's often the case. I start seeing people posting, writing in all caps, I can't believe it. They had so much potential. Or they had so much more to give. But the thing is, they didn't have more potential. They surpassed their potential. They didn't have more to give because they already gave it all. They reflected who we are, and that's why we recognize their death. These days, the loss of an idol brings out this kind of one-upmanship sport of competitive grieving. Participants immediately begin combing the internet for the best photo of said idol and seeking out inspirational quotes. But they're mostly misattributed quotes. They're mostly images taken out of context. They're mostly self-serving advertisements of what we want our online personalities to express. The amount of times I have seen a calming photo of Robin Williams being posted with the quote, Great minds don't think alike, they think for themselves. Written in bold across it is astounding. That's not his quote. That's something a Disney character he once portrayed said in a Saturday morning cartoon. But these posts with the inspirational quotes and the calming photos of the recently deceased get over 100 likes or comments, when most people don't get a single like or comment when asking their friends to help them move on the weekend. And we post about all of the idols, not just the ones that matter to us, because we want to be part of the herd. We want to be part of that grieving group. And we want to stand out, like our idols. So we try to be the grievingest member of the grieving group that ever grieved. Facebook now reminds us daily of status updates we had years ago. Recently, I was reminded of something I wrote 7 years ago. My update was, I never thought Michael Jackson would die. I never thought he would die? That was my update? I'm a logical person. I know that everyone dies. Why would I write that? But that is now in the cloud, part of my contribution to society. And after all of our idols die, if we haven't become idols ourselves, we'll die too. You and I. And when they start to prepare our eulogy, they'll scroll through our Facebook feed to find what meant the most to us. And because every time an idol died, we had a heartfelt status update about it, our funeral will be nothing more than a laundry list of all the idols who had such an impact on our lives. We'll be remembered by how we remembered our idols, even though they're remembered through our misrepresentation of them. Eulogies will be nothing more than a heartfelt text, a sad emoticon, or a broken heart. Photos of memes of dead celebrities that we've posted throughout the years. If there's an afterlife, I hope it's social media and emoticon free, because this shit is making me tired.
I talk to a lot of Montrealers and they love art.
Yeah.
And they
say
can tell
that.
me what role it plays in their life.
Yeah, but they're not willing to invest money in it.
Maybe because it's so intangible. Can you say that? Intangible? What arts do? It's not material, right? It's part of a society's identity. C'est comment les gens s'identifient, comment les gens se divertissent.
They like it, but I think they're not under the impression that when you live as an artist, like, you don't have necessarily the means.
So I think it's that immaterial part that makes it. Because you need plumbers, you need builders. That's super material, that's super concrete.
Like, some of them do, and that's great, but most of them are struggling and they have to be like, to have another job, basically.
Yeah.
But then I think you need arts and culture and inspiration. Pense au festival, par exemple. There could be no festival and the economy could still keep going, but there are festivals. That's plenty of people super happy, discovering the city, discovering new artists and feeling good.
And so I guess they don't understand that art can also be profitable in the long term. Like, if you inject money into culture, you're actually going to get benefits from, like, tourists or, you know, just people going to see shows and movies that are made in Quebec and stuff. So I think people are really proud of the culture, but they're not willing to invest that much in it because they feel like there's more important problems, I guess.
If I were the Minister of Culture et Communication du Québec, all the money, I'd put it in culture and arts rather than the army.
But
All of it?
Oh, that's what I said, right?
No, you didn't
No,
say
no,
all
no.
of it. I'm just asking you.
Probably if that's what I said.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd put money instead of doing
Okay.
war. That's crazy. It's just crazy.
For me, it's more than a way of expression, it's a way of communication, it's also a way of living. My friends are from that field, of course, so I'm hanging around in vernissage and in plenty of very nice and fun organization in the art field. So yeah, everything is around that. So what will we do without a sun? So it's pretty much the same thing.
That wraps up another edition of The Street Speaks. A special thank you to our house band on a roof, Skinny Bros, and to comic improviser Sehar Manji and comic Keith Waterfield, who both took to the soapbox. As you can tell, Montrealers, when asked, are chock full of strong opinions and amazing personal stories to share. Join me next week as some speak out about the challenges they're experiencing raising kids in the digital age, and others share with me how changing social behaviors in modern times are complicating their lives. Also, actor-writer Michael Hughes, storyteller Nisha Coleman, and theatrical performer Johanna Nutter all take to the Street Speak soapbox. If you want to get in touch with me, don't be shy. I can be reached on Facebook and on Twitter. See you next time.
My name is Catherine Lafranchise, and you are watching The Street Speaks.